It's December. Oh, hi. Now we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the weekly roundup. We were just saying how we can't believe it's September. December. I really can't believe it's September. So yeah, what should we do though? Oh my gosh, December. Terry, tell us.
Well, hey, you have got an amazing opportunity on Monday to get all of 2023 planned for your events. We've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. We have a 2023 marketing event planning workshop coming up. It is a 4-hour workshop, and it is from noon to 1. Excuse me, I'm also multitasking here. It's from noon to 4 p.m. on Monday the 5th Central Time. And we are going to cover all things that relate to your marketing. And as I said in the little post that we sent out earlier, this is not just us doing a 4-hour PowerPoint presentation, right? We are going to get shit done. And so we're going to walk through, we're going to do some brainstorming about events. We're going to talk about what works, what doesn't work. We have all kinds of assets for you that when you sign up, I'm going to be emailing them to you today and over the weekend as people sign up. And you're actually going to be putting pen to paper, and we're going to come up with your plan for 2023. And it's not just going to be, we're going to look at the types of events you do and making sure that they fall into, there's 4 primary categories of types of events. I'm not going to give that away because you need to sign up for the workshop to find out what those 4 primary types of events are. And we're going to talk about categorizing them. We're going to talk about how do they relate to your avatars. And again, we're not going to give too much away about that because you need to sign up for the workshop to get all the secret sauce for all that stuff. So, and then you're going to put down on paper, okay, in January, I'm going to do this and this in February. And then we'll do all of 2023. Once we get the events drafted out, then we're going to laser focus in on Q1. And what we're going to then do is we have a fabulous worksheet for that. Thank you, Carol. I want to thank my colleagues, Alex and Carol, for stepping at the plate and doing this kind of a little bit last minute for them and scrambling to find assets and stuff, which I know has been challenging, but thank you for doing that. Carol created this great little worksheet where you're going to plug in, okay, we're going to do this event, whatever the event is. Okay, on this date, we're going to send this email. And then when it's on this date, we're going to order this poster, or on this date, we're going to do this. So you're literally going to put that pen to paper. And then after you're done, you can put it on whatever type of calendar you want, whether you do it in Asana or whether you get like a big dry erase yearly, whether it's a monthly, whatever works for you and your brain, you're going to put that on the calendar. So then we're going to do Q1, and then your homework will be to do the rest of the year. So then when you're done with that, holy smokes, you've got the plan, including the dates when everything's done. We also have some assets of communication timelines, right? So thank you, Teresa, for curating one this summer that we're using. So we have a general communication timeline, event timeline, a general event communication timeline. We have for a free yoga weekend, because there's a lot of moving pieces to that. And then we also have one for retreats and teacher trainings, right? So it's literally a checklist of when they should be, like 4 months out, 3 months out, and what the type of announcement should be. Doesn't that sound friggin' amazing?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I am amazed. I am so excited about this because I'm going to have a chance to be a participant for once. And even though I'm really good at like giving others advice, it's sometimes a little bit like physician heal thyself with my own studio, and I get lazy and I have a vague plan in my head for what's going to happen next year, but I don't have it spelled out. And I have a really big calendar, so I think I need to show you guys this because I am so excited that I'm going to be writing things on this. It's like,
oh, that's a good one.
This is the really big one, okay? It's all going to go on here, and I'm going to have my social media and marketing person with me during the workshop. so that she kind of gets trained a little bit by other people, because this is like the reason why studio owners want us to come and do a sales training and so on. It's always good when they hear it from someone else. And we're going to sit and we're going to just crush it, get it all done in one day. So I am super excited about being a part of this.
Yay, Vicky, it'll be good to see you there. Okay.
This is such a super powerful thing to do. Like, just sit your ass in a chair and like get this totally done. And my favorite story that Vicky reminded me with that big calendar, because from the 2019 summit, and Carol, we were there together, like we did that at the summit, as I think you guys did this year as well, right? And we took that full day and we had it all planned out, and like something about how the markers and the dry erase paper like work together. By the time we got home, it all disappeared. Like it just kind of like, and then, which ended up being really appropriate because the plan was for 2020.
Oh, that was it. It was your fault, Kate.
Perfect. No, we actually had a really good plan, but like here, we had it like more in detail on our computer with all the steps we were going to take and everything. But the great thing, because we know that plans change sometimes, right? But if you take this time and plan out the entire year, yeah, stuff's going to change. But what this workshop is going to give you guys, and what, or working with a coach to like figure this out one-on-one, if you can't make the workshop, can give you is really an understanding of like, why are we planning these specific things at this specific time? And then even if your dry erase calendar erases itself, it's very easy to go back and be like, okay, here's what were we trying to do in January again? Oh yeah, this. And now like you can figure it out again. Or like, oh, this thing happened and our basement flooded. We need to like rethink that basement yoga class. And you can just plug in something else in its place that would serve the same goals. So really, really valuable to do.
And you make a good point there too, Kate, because one of the things I realized in prepping for this workshop, and the phrase, if I knew then what I know now, as I realized when I think back to the events that I did in the 5 years I owned my studio, is they were pretty much very similar. And they were pretty much primarily to one type of avatar. Right. And so we kind of fall into that, doing a yoga. I'm not saying yoga challenges aren't good. That's definitely a type of event. But are you, and that's one of the powerful things about this workshop is, again, helping you identify the 4 types of events and how you're going to grid them out, and making sure that you have events that appeal to across your client, your community, because maybe not everybody wants to do a yoga challenge, or maybe somebody doesn't always want to do a sound bath, right? I know sound baths, touch me, I know sound baths are really popular right now, and that's great. But if you're only doing things like sound baths and meditations, and are you tapping into other potential clients in your studios? Because there may be some people that are like, that really doesn't appeal to me, but this would. So that's the other thing about this workshop. It's not just about planning events. It's about planning strategic events that help you drive revenue, help increase your lifetime value, because we spend a lot of time at the summit talking about lifetime value, helping increase the lifetime value of your clients, because the easiest person to sell to is an existing client. One of the things in sales is you've got to add them, you got to keep them, and you got to grow them. Right? You add them when they come in as a lead, you keep them with your attention. And one of the ways you grow them within a service-based business is get them to buy more services, whether it's a workshop, and that includes also yoga teacher trainings and retreats and all of those things. That's how you help to grow the lifetime value of your client. Because if they're only doing your monthly unlimited auto pay, that's the max of their lifetime value. Right. And I'm not saying that's not a bad thing. We love those people that just come in and do their thing and leave. However, if you can maybe entice those people with something, maybe now that person increased their lifetime value. So that's the other thing that's important about this workshop as well. Wow, I just pulled that one out of a hat. How'd you guys like that? I thought that was pretty good.
It's very good. It's, you made me think, it's such a good point. We want to like keep getting money from the people who are already in our business, and it's also not just about money. Like that's not the only reason that you should do events that also appeal to your current members, because in addition to, okay, if they only do your monthly unlimited, you're only getting $99 a month. But also if they only do your monthly unlimited, they're only coming to yoga classes. So after a while, they may hit a plateau or kind of get bored. But what you can offer them are like different ways to reignite their passion about what they're doing and keep them really engaged. And so that's why yoga challenges are really successful, because people experience a lot of results really fast. They experience like a different way of feeling, when they do yoga more often. So, but that's not the only event you could do.
Right.
But any event that you plan that is supposed to appeal to your current clientele, that is supporting their yoga practice. So that can be something that will actually help them not only spend more money in your business, but also like just keep them engaged with your business over the longer term.
Now I'm really curious about these avatars. I can already kind of hear like there's sociable Susie and there's competitive Katie, and like there's going to be people who like different stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah. Was it Teresa, were you saying a couple weeks ago on a roundup that something about a Wednesday night class with martinis or something afterwards? Did I hear that here, or am I making that up?
Oh yeah, no, that was, I mentioned that I can't remember exactly what I said about it, but I had a client that hosted a Wednesday evening, and it was a yoga class with martinis afterwards.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of success with it. And so it was community building because everyone stayed afterwards and socialized. And then they ended up having, like, I can't remember now because it was a couple weeks ago, but there were at least 8 new people in that class.
Yeah.
It was a really big class. So they were like at capacity with the class. And then there were a bunch of new people that they could then reach out to after the class and start building more of a relationship with. So little things like
they're
that.
all loosened up.
Yeah, they're all loosened up. And
they're a little tipsy. Their buying decision is influenced.
About that.
It's just, yoga, yeah.
Come on, you want a membership, right?
You're live. But
those marketing events are really cool. There was one studio that was doing like a beer and yoga, and they partnered with a local brewery and did like a beer and yoga class, very similar to the martini one. And that would be a really good way, like, to get a lot of men in. Like, oh, if you come to this yoga class, you also get a beer. But I've always wanted to personally do one of the puppy classes. I would just be very distracted and just snuggle all the puppies. But
I had a friend who did the studio she went to. They did cats, yoga with cats with the human society. She ended up taking one of the cats home with her.
Right? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Although you're never going to see me in a goat yoga class. I'm sorry.
I would totally do it.
Would you totally do it?
It would be so fun.
Goats
smell.
Little
scary.
Very relaxed.
Little baby goats, right? Like, they're not gonna really hurt you.
There was a place, maybe Jennifer, if it's still there was a place in Portland that was a cat, like it was, I forget what it's called. It was like a cat cafe. And
there's several of them still.
Okay.
And the original goat yoga is in Oregon.
Yeah.
They've been on 60 Minutes. Like they book out 6 months in advance for
really
goat yoga. Yeah.
Cat cafe, you can go and just pet the cats, but then they also do yoga classes there, and you can then take the cats home with you. So it's like, that would be a really interesting, you got to make sure like you don't have a lot of allergic students if you want.
It's a very complicated thing to host something with animals. I can tell you that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it unless you really are working with an organization that's dialed in. It sounds really awesome, but it's pretty complicated if you do it.
Better to go like someplace that
you can do it in the park.
Yeah.
Go to the goat.
Have a fenced in area, like you're going to a petting zoo, but petting zoo yoga class.
Something like you could go, we're talking about like drinking and yoga and stuff, but over the holidays, especially a market to tap into that you might want to go for, because there are also a lot of yoga people, is like, what about people who don't drink? Can they have like festive fun things to do over the holidays? So you could
we do a workshop.
You could do a mocktail.
We do a workshop with a local CBD company that makes CBD drinks. and called Pink Cloud, and it's an amazing local company. And we do a sound bath, and then followed
Get
by
stoned.
a little happy hour with this little CBD drink, and it's great. It's very festive. It's these delicious drinks that are all natural, and you still have a festive environment without having any alcohol, and it promotes a local business. So it's like, for my own studio, it hits all of our core values.
Yeah. And I mean, even further than that, you may want to go just like, because CBD for some people, that's also going to be like something that they avoid too. So if you want to,
I mean, we market it that way, so everybody knows. They don't come and it's not a surprise.
Totally.
Like, here, you need to drink this, and it's always optional, but it's just an exposure to a different type of a product.
Yeah.
So these are some of the wonderful things you're going to find out about on Monday. So their space is limited because we are capping it. We do have some spots left, so we'll actually, I'll pop out and I will pop the link at the top of the YC so you guys can snag a spot. And as we're not gonna, it's $4.99, and like to Vicky's point, if you want to have like your manager or marketing manager on, hey, we're not gonna say, no, you got to pay twice, right? And if you're a couple of questions we've asked, one person asked if, hey, I have to pop out for a minute, can I come back? Absolutely, because we are recording it. And if you do sign up for the workshop, you will have access to the recording. And if you're not able to make it, you can still sign up for the workshop and get the recording, because I will say that this because it's a paid workshop, the access to the the only way to get access to the recording and all the assets is to register for the workshop. And so I know sometimes with the time zone thing, you might not be able to be available. I know for Vicky, you're doing it and it's going to be pretty late for you. And then, so anyway, so if it's a time zone issue or childcare or whatever it is, go ahead, sign up for it. And then after it's over, you'll get the access to the recording and you'll get access to all the assets. And then, of course, any follow-up support that you may need with your coach or within the YC. So just putting that out there as well. What else?
Alex, you wanted to talk about
Well,
making sure you've got a balance over the holidays for you.
I
and
think
your
before that, I would just say, with respect to the marketing workshop, one of the advantages of doing it together with multiple studio owners is that you're going to get a lot of different ideas from the studio owners. And I think a lot of times as owners, we feel very alone. This is a good segue into the holiday. And maybe we have a business partner or whatever we're working with, or maybe we own it by ourselves. So we're trying to create the ideas in the direction of the studio all by ourselves. So working with a variety of studios in a variety of areas of the country or the world gives us good perspectives, and sharing ideas about, we said, like what works, what hasn't worked, and then really why it hasn't worked in the past. Learning to, the other thing you'll take away from this is like creating that system, so that any potential event that comes your way, you'll be able to apply that system and strategy moving forward, whether it's 23 or 24 in the future. So I think that's a great opportunity for studio owners to get outside of their heads. Segueing into the holiday, we were talking about before, just making sure, maybe it's a mantra, maybe it's a period of time that you set aside in the next, 4 weeks, 6 weeks for yourself, to just make sure that you create boundaries around work and personal life during this busy time of year. Terry and I were talking about, like, sometimes it's easier. Some studio owners love to be in the studio and it's a really festive time. Other times you might have kids or family or obligations. And so I think it's a good time of year to be kind to yourself as a studio owner. And, anyone else have any thoughts on that?
I do. I have a lot of, especially in the past week, when we get into the holidays, I've been on calls with lots of people that are just feeling super overwhelmed. And it's just because things that are going on in the studio, and it's a busier time all the way around. And so kind of remembering that I often see people that have to-do lists, and they're trying to look at the to-do list as a whole and think, I've got to do all this stuff, so reminding yourself that it's always better to break things into more manageable tasks and step back a little bit and remember that progress is progress, whether you take one step forward in a day or 10 steps forward in a day. If it's a step forward, it's progress. And so just, taking it easy on yourself a little bit and reminding yourself that you can't get to-do lists done all the time, in a week. It takes time to move through projects sometimes. So if you just scale it back a smaller, more manageable chunk, and then just stay focused on that. So it's kind of like, I always give the analogy that it's kind of like hiking up a mountain. So it's best to just keep your head down a little bit and focus on what you're doing instead of always looking at the top and seeing how far you have left to go, because then that can be discouraging and you could trip over rocks if you're not looking down, right? And then you could fall. So just keeping your head down and focusing on what you're doing. And, you have the long-term goal in your head. You don't need to always be looking at it and discouraging yourself. Focus on what you're doing at the present time. So I think that's important this time of year to remind ourselves and to remind the people around us about that mindset.
So what's been coming up for me during my coaching calls with studio owners this week has been also, a little bit of overwhelm and lots of to-do lists. And what we've been doing, the theme this week has been get things done on the call. That's been like the theme. I've been doing it all week with people. So if you're doing coaching already, like remember that if you feel like your action items or your homework is too much, we can always do it together on the call. And that can be like such a good solution for getting these things done that you were struggling with getting done on your own. So I've had like one person, we did 2 calls to set up all of their Facebook ad campaigns. Someone else that we sat down and we created their marketing not marketing, but intro campaign funnel, because it's been dragging on for like several weeks and she was like frustrated that she wasn't getting it done. And then we were like, okay, let's sit down, look at it together. How hard can it be? It wasn't that difficult. I mean, it was with moments, so it's a little bit new to both of us, but we got it all done in one call. And someone else just doing, you're creating a first visit protocol. So that was all ready to give to all the teachers so that they were all on board for start of January. We got it done on the call. No homework, it's done. So if you're overwhelmed, I would recommend you to book a call and we can not give you any homework, but just help you do things.
I've done the same thing, Vicki. I helped a client. We did their first visit protocol this week. We drafted out some emails, all that same stuff. So yeah, so oftentimes having the coach just there to walk you through it and just bounce ideas off of and help write and revise and things like that, is having just that second person there can make it a lot quicker and less stressful. Hey, Carol.
Yeah, it was coming up for me that I know that a lot of times that overwhelm can come from a lack of planning. So going back to the marketing calendar, think if you had done this last year and you already had all those emails set up and all the contact points and all the posters done, you would kind of maybe be a little bit less overwhelmed. And so it's another good reason to sign up for that workshop. But I mean, obviously there are many other things going on and, it might be family or whatever, but that just sort of was a point that I wanted to bring up there. Planning is always good for helping with overwhelm.
Once you identify the types of things that work in each quarter, and I think maybe it was before we hit live, but somebody was talking about doing a after action review on your events and what worked, what didn't. Once you identify those events that really work in your business, you can, and this was our experience, this time of year, just kind of sit back and let it happen. We had some great holiday events that just worked. We did our free weekend in January. It always worked. We just and we had all the SOPs and emails and everything. So it was really just tweak and plug and play. And then we really got to, as Terry was saying, then you just get to be in your studio and enjoy it, or be not in your studio, enjoy that.
Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat.
I wanted to riff off of what Alex said about kind of looking back on things that you did and kind of debriefing over them. I think it's a great time right now, specifically right after any type of small business, gratitude, Black Friday, whatever you call the sales that happen around Thanksgiving, if you're in the States. Because I think what tends to happen is there's a lot of energy before it. There's a lot of panic before it. There's a lot of repeating of what we did the last year without thinking about if that actually worked, and if it also meets our new goals and vision from this year. So I always schedule the Tuesday after that. So this next Tuesday, to look back, run all the numbers to see at my own studio, we run 2 sales. And well, this year we ran 2 sales. We change it up every year. For a reason, another reason why we don't want anyone to wait for our sales, right? We want to surprise them with what the sales are. So on the following Tuesday, I have it on my calendar, which is, kind of goes back to what Alex was saying, and also the idea of having things on your marketing calendar. So I would suggest also after any marketing events, any workshops, teacher trainings, you also schedule a 2-week later debrief for yourself, a half hour to look and see how it worked, what didn't work, what you would do different the next time. So particularly for this type of this timing, I always set a week and a half after it to sit down, run the stats. And some things that I always suggest with my coaching clients is when you're setting up your sales or your marketing ideas of things like this, to think about what your goals are for that particular sale or event that you're having. So a lot of times we just think, okay, so everyone's going to have stuff on sale. Like I have to put stuff on sale. So I'm going to put my 10 packs on sale for 25% off, because a lot of people love that sale. They wait for that sale and then they buy those 10 packs. Well, that's great. But does that meet if one of your goals is to get more people on membership, promoting your 10 packs is not a great way to get people on membership. So if you think of it as like your big main vision and your big main goals, and break that down to see if your sales actually support those, I would argue that less focus on class cards. People are going to buy class cards anyway. I'm not sure we necessarily always want to promote class cards in that way. One option, if you feel like you have to do something with class cards, instead of discounting your class cards, you do the baker's dozen. So you do 12 classes for the price of 10. So you're not discounting in any way necessarily off the price, but you're giving that additional 2. I would also suggest limiting that people can only buy one of those. And then I also like to, in my own studio, I limit my sales for every single thing that we do, any sale that we have. So in my studio, we only sold 25 of those. So that way people knew if they saw that sale, they had to get on it and buy it quickly, because after 25, they're gone. But if your goal is to get more people on membership, which I would imagine is almost everyone's goal, maybe you focus your sale on that, where you say, first month of membership is 50% off for new people to membership, or some kind of new perks to membership or something like that, where you put your energy into the membership side instead of into the class card side. The other thing to think about is, why are you doing these sales? Are you doing them because everyone else does sales and you feel like, oh crap, I got to do sales too, so I'm just going to do the same shit I did last year, or I'm going to do what the neighbor's studio does, or whatever, right? So think about why you're doing the sales. Like if you need that money right now because you need to pay your bills, you need a new sign, you need to do a repair, you need a bonus, like there's something that you need cash for right now. That's one strategy for a sale. So, thinking about why you're doing the sales, to me, is super important. If you don't need cash right now, maybe doing a 1-year sale, which we see a lot of people do this time of year, maybe is not the best thing to do. But if you do choose to do a 1-year sale, I would say make sure, again, you're not too heavily discounting it, and make sure you only sell a certain number of 1 years. So we always want to have like that FOMO and that idea of a limited quantity. If you choose to do a 1-year sale, in one of the strategies that I think is really important is, unless you need that money right there, like if you need $10,000 to pay something that needs to get paid before the end of the year, sell your 10 1-packs, use that money strategically. But if you don't need that money for something, or all of the money, I think it's really, really important to think about that money that you brought in from a 1 year and make specific ways that you're going to turn that money into more money. So remember, if you have people who are on your monthly auto pay and they go off the auto pay and they buy a 1 year, it has to go on your books as a liability, right? It's not really considered income because they haven't used it yet. That's one thing to remember. The other thing to remember is that now you're getting a big chunk in November, and it's going to, affect your cash flow for the next 12 months. So just remember that. If that works for you, that's fine, but you need to think about that. If you do take in a bunch of money in November and you don't have specific things you need to use that money for, I highly suggest taking that money and either using it towards ads so that you can bring in more people, or using it to hire a front desk person so that you can, keep your people and work on your soulful sales process, but not just being like, woohoo, I got an extra $15,000 bonus, like so super excited. Use that money strategically to make more money with that money. So things to do, I would say, after you attend the marketing workshop, and I love that it's a workshop, so you will actually be doing work and not just sitting there watching. To me, as an owner, if I'm going to spend 4 hours on anything, like I want stuff to be done when I'm done with my 4 hours. So that's why I think this is such a good workshop. But on Tuesday, set a half hour for yourself, go through any sales that you did, ask yourself why you did it. Did it work? Would I do it again? And what am I going to do moving forward with that? Let's say I did get a bunch of new 10 class people, or I did get a bunch of new members. Make sure your retention strategies are in place for any of those new sales that happen. Any other coaches have input on that?
You don't have to do 1 year. You can mix it up a bit. If you always do 12 months, do 6 months,
Totally.
8 months, 9
Yep.
months.
I totally agree. I think a 12-month, we're all caught in that loop of what has been done before, right? Like you could do 74 days. Like you could pick anything you want to do if you want to do some type of a sale. We just don't want people to anticipate them. And the problem that I see with 1 years, I think there's a lot of problems with 1 years if you don't need a big chunk of money right then, which it's great for that, is people discount them too heavily.
Something that some studios have said had success. Wow, that was a lot of sounds. Had success with were like super passes. Speaking of where you don't discount, or you actually even possibly sell an annual or a 6 month or whatever you want for more than the regular price, but you add a bunch of value.
Yeah. The other thing too that's interesting is to Jen's point about, annuals, because I did really well with annuals, and I had, by the time, at my height, I had like 80 annual memberships. And the way I definitely managed it, there was a process to it. And they were some of my, highest lifetime value clients. But the other thing that was interesting was, because at one point, I forget, years back, someone says, oh, you don't make as much money per class, per client on an annual. So I actually went in and did, ran the numbers, and believe it or not, the average cost per class, I made more on average cost per class for annual members than I did for my monthly members. Because for a lot of times with the annual members, some of it is just, I just want a one and done. I don't want to have to think about it. And then they would go away for a couple of months and they wouldn't think about it. And it was like no extensions. It was very clear. You can't pause it for going on whatever. You're getting the price based upon da. And so, I had some people that it was $16-17 a class that I was making on them. Whereas of course we have those super users, the monthly, I had my highest user, $250 a class is what I was making for her.
One other way to do 1 year's, Terry, like you're talking about, is you sell 5 a month. Like my studio, we used to sell about that many a year, but we would sell them all in October. And so then you have like a big giant, $95,000 sale in October, which is great and felt awesome, but it skews stuff.
Right. Because you have to have
I
that
like
revenue
to,
for the whole
you
year.
could spread it out and say, okay, if it works in my budget to do 50 a year, let's say, then you sell 6 or 8 a month, and that's it. And people know, and then you really have your cash flow is spread a lot better.
And I actually ended up towards the last year, because I had people say, well, what if I just pay new clients? What if I just paid you for a whole year up front? What will my price? So I actually it was like in the footer, hey, interested in a full year membership, click here. And I just had a price, and I would sell like 1 a month, maybe 2 a month of those as well, just very passively. It wasn't like we were going for it. It just gave them the option to do it. Okay. And then Mara.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's all about your goals, right? Because going back to what Jennifer said, like if you do need a chunk of money up front, and actually we did, like when we first opened, we needed that. We heavily discounted a year as a founding membership sale because people our studio wasn't even built yet. So like, yeah, very cheap. But actually, because the type of people who were buying that deal, like they did just want, like, I just want to pay for it. I made up my mind, I'm going to do yoga. And then some of them only came like 3 times. So that's a lot of money per class. Like that's great. And those people did not continue after that first year though. So if your goal is like long-term membership and recurring revenue, as it should be, one thing you can do is, like, we didn't have an annual after that first year or so, but they could pay up front. So fine, you want to pay me up front for a year, but I'm still setting up an auto pay. So I would put their $1,000 whatever on their studio account, and they would get a receipt every month, because we know that actually that's really motivating to people to continue their practice regularly. It's across the industry, monthly members practice more regularly for a longer period of time than yearly members. And they don't have to make that huge decision about a chunk of money at the end of the year. It's a small chunk of money every month, and they just get like a reminder, I should be doing yoga. Right. So that's the psychology behind why you may want to go that route. But it's such a good conversation to show that it's never like, there's no one size fits all solution. It really is going back to, what is your vision? What are your goals? And then what's the strategy that's going to help you achieve them?
Something that's really interesting that Josh and Jenna did in their studio was they always had an annual sale one time of year, but it was always in a different month. So then over time, like, and they started it in Q3, I think, or Q2, like it started really random in May. And then the next year it was in September, and like it always changed like the quarter that it was in, and then it would shift the month. So then over time, you would always be getting those renewals for those annual memberships in a different month. So you're not always getting that giant cash flow in just November or just December or whenever. You're getting it kind of like consistently throughout the year. And then of course, to everybody's point, like if you, I don't know, but yeah, just these are all really, really good points about annuals and sales and all of that. But I just wanted to throw that out there because I thought that was really, really cool and smart how they like actually, and it was intentional from the start. They knew that they were going to do it that way.
They don't wait for like, oh, my annual is going to be done, and then I'll just buy another one on sale.
Yeah.
Super smart.
Yeah. And like they had incentive too for people, like if you renew it, you get locked in this rate. And so and I think they increase the price every year as well too, which of course makes sense with inflation and stuff. So like, even if they did wait until the next sale, they're going to pay more. So if they renewed their annual when it expired, then they would still be locked in with their rate that they paid the previous year if they renewed. So there was like that incentive to keep it going for those people and all of that stuff. So it was really cool. Vicky needs to go catch the train. Bye, Vicky.
Oh, never mind. Somebody else talk. I got a delivery.
So I can just pipe in about some social media ideas that you can do. So a really important thing with anything that you're doing. Oh, is my video on? I don't know what's going on. Anyways, so with social media, when you have all of these events going on, and you have sales, even if you're just having a sale, you can still make it an event on social media, or like on Facebook, because you can have your Facebook events and make it just as much as you can talk about it online is better than not talking about it at all. So even if you're just having a holiday sale, make an event about it. Update your cover photo on your Facebook page, and then update that link on your Facebook page. The sign up now, or a lot of people have it like message us, DM us, whatever. Make sure that those are updated with whatever sale you have on. It's kind of like thinking of your Facebook page as a website, essentially. Like that is prime real estate. And when people go to your Facebook page, that is the first thing they see. And it's very unlikely that somebody's going to scroll through in your Facebook page and look 2 weeks ago when you had a post about some sale that you have going on. So putting it on your banner is really, really helpful to make sure that everybody sees it and it's really prominent. And then of course, updating your link in bio in Instagram, making sure if you're using Linktree or something similar, making sure that you have that link on there. And if you upgrade your Linktree, it's very affordable. I do recommend it because then you can schedule your links as well, which is really handy. So you don't have to constantly manage it. You can also like make it so it shakes. So the one that you are promoting or want people to buy. So on off season, this could just be your intro pass one, but it moves when people go up there. So it's really obvious that that one's there. It just draws more attention to it. And then of course, just posting about it regularly, even if it's just sharing the same original sale post on your story on Instagram every day, because the user habit is that they go and look at your stories. They go through stories first before they go through their newsfeed. It's just kind of the habit of going onto Instagram. Now you start with your stories and then you go through the feed, see what's happening. And as long as you're posting on your stories every day, and even a couple times a day, you're going to be showing up at that in the front of your stories.
Defies the imagination.
Got my delivery. I was just going to say something that didn't come up. We've talked about it before, but didn't come up today, is like targeting your offerings whenever you're doing a campaign for a pass or whatever. So Jennifer was talking about the class packs, like don't send those to everybody. Like if you're going to do a deal and offer 12 for the price of 10, only send those to like people who have only ever come to your studio once in the last year, or people who like did a Groupon, or people who are on a current class pack. And if you want to sell an annual, but you don't want to pull people off of your auto pay, don't sell it to the auto people. So that's where it comes in really handy to have a system where you can segment your email marketing. That's were you going to wrap us up there?
Yeah. If anybody has anything else to say, now's your chance. But if not, I think we're good. And everybody, if you have questions about the webinar, or sorry, the workshop that's coming up on Monday, Terry is going to post a link in the comments here of this post. And so if you want to sign up, go ahead and sign up for it. It's going to be really, really awesome. We're all very excited about it. And yeah. And then Kay, send us off for the weekend.
Go do some yoga, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Happy Terry Friday.